Welcome to the Rich Report, a podcast with news and information on high performance computing. Today, my guest is Dr. Rosemary Francis. She's from a company called Ellexus in the UK. Rosemary, welcome to the show today.
Hi, thank you very much for having me.
Well, thanks for coming on, Rosemary. I know I've met you at a couple conferences, but I thought maybe we should start by, can you tell us more about your background and how you became a HPC entrepreneur?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, like most people in the industry, I kind of arrived in HPC and in IT infrastructure by accident. My background's actually chip design, so I spent some years designing microchips, mainly on the digital side, and also programming FPGAs. And I really got very frustrated how much time I spent on the IT infrastructure side of things. So I founded a company in order to try and make that more efficient.
Oh, sure. And what's Alexis? Is it a acronym or where's the name come from?
Oh, it was just something that sounded cool and had a .com available.
Well, yeah, that helps. That helps a lot. Okay, so what would you say? What is the core mission of Alexis?
So I think the core mission is to try and make everything run more efficiently. We're the IO profiling company, but our mission is to make it easier for people to run applications, for those applications to run more efficiently, and not just in isolation on the whole IT infrastructure. I'll talk a little bit about some of the problems our customers face in a moment, but it's really important, I think, as the industry moves on, for us to all work together, not just from an administrator point of view, but also from a user point of view, and anyone who can help.
Oh, terrific. Well, why don't we go through your slides here, Rosemary? I brought them up, and we'll do a Q&A at the end.
Okay, fantastic. Well, today I'm talking about a new tool that we've launched called Ellexus Container Checker. We've launched this particularly with moving HPC to the cloud. And this is something that all of our customers are looking at. And one of the biggest challenges, I think, that the industry has faced in a long time. So Ellexus is the IO profiling company. And our focus is really on looking at IO performance in order to find bottlenecks in the system, to find bottlenecks in applications, to make applications run more efficiently, and to make it easier to move applications between different kinds of compute infrastructure. So our customers are in various different industries. Some of them consider them HPC, and some of them don't. So that includes chip design, where I come from, as well as similar industries such as cancer research, finance, oil and gas, anywhere where big compute meets big data, really. And what our customers have in common is they've got huge amounts of compute, huge amounts of storage. And as they look to the future to move some of that into the cloud, they need to look at new ways of doing that. And it's such an opportunity, but it's also such a challenge. So moving a single application can be hard enough when it's a complex application, but it's not just about moving each application one by one. You've really got to look at good working practices for the compute and for the storage in order to do that efficiently. One of the things that's different about the cloud is that the compute is flexible. And in HPC, we've often been used to an environment where a cluster might be procured for several years. You can rely on the infrastructure being more or less the same day to day, but that's not the case in the cloud. You can just change a small setting and suddenly your compute environment is very different. You've got different amounts of memory, different performance from the storage, and we absolutely need to make sure that workloads are completely platform agnostic, not just in a will it run sort of way, but will it run well? And one of the tools that people are going to be using a lot to help make their workloads more system agnostic is containers. It's not the only thing you need to do, but it's certainly something that people will be embracing in order to make things run efficiently. So, introducing our new tool, Ellexus Container Checker. Container Checker runs dynamic checks on your container to make sure that everything is working correctly. So we look at all the files and all the network locations that it accesses inside the container as well as outside. We look at where it spends its time. We look at whether it'll be scalable, because obviously you're going to be running many thousands of instances of this container in parallel. And we also look at regression testing. Has any third-party changes caused a problem? Have any software updates caused a problem? Does the container do the same thing it always used to, even if you've perhaps started from a different image? So the idea is you run Container Checker to generate a very simple report, and then you can see exactly what's going on. And you can see whether your application is properly set up for the cloud. So running it is very simple. You just launch Container Checker on an instance where you've got your Docker image installed, and you get the report when the application is finished. It will include information about I/O performance. All sorts of things that currently affect people inside their cluster will also be a problem in the cloud, such as small reads and writes, excess metadata operations, particularly to any remote storage or mounted volumes. We also look at security to make sure that it's accessing everything it should and not accessing anything it shouldn't. And we also look at time, because more than ever before in the cloud, time is money, and you need to make sure that you're not wasting operational expenditure on inefficient code. So why should you care about I/O profiling? As I mentioned, time is money, and bad I/O costs you time. These are some of the examples from our customers, and they really highlight the kind of problems that can really easily arise. So this first quote is taken from a customer who had a software build that was really, really efficient. The compiler was a very well set up, very well optimized piece of code, but they'd used a make file that was accidentally calling print working directory instead of reading the environment variable. So very tiny change in the code meant that they got an 87% improvement in runtime when they fixed that. And it's that kind of result where everyone has made good decisions. The code is very well optimized, but just the way it's deployed is slightly wrong, and that can cause enormous impact on the I/O performance. This is an overview of our full product range so that you can see exactly how Container Checker fits in with the rest of our products. So we've got tools that make it easy to move to the cloud. Breeze profiles your application in detail and will tell you about every single file and every single program that you need to move. Mistral is for live deployment, either on-premise or in the cloud. And we also have a service that includes helping you size your application so that you get the storage right. We know that the majority of expenditure in the cloud is actually storage expenditure. And if you get that wrong, you can easily have costs that run away with you. So making sure that you get your storage right is absolutely key to making that migration and adopting new technologies in the right way. So Container Checker is currently available on AWS. If you want a free trial, then you can find us on AWS Marketplace, or you can get in touch on info@ellexus.com. So thank you very much.
Well, thanks for that, Rosemary. I'm curious about this scenario where you described where there's maybe even thousands of containers. Are these serial jobs typically, or are they reliant on each other like an MPI process, or how does it work for a customer like Cadence?
So when you're running applications in the cloud, you've really got to adopt a different way of working. One of the challenges with MPI is that it's inherently about using shared storage, whereas in the cloud, you've got very different performance on shared storage compared with local storage. And that means either installing a shared storage solution in the cloud or migrating to something different, such as object store or a database solution. Now, for an MPI application, it might not be possible to make that big change, but there are all kinds of things you can do in order to provide perhaps a POSIX file system interface to S3 in order to give you good MPI I/O performance. That's one of the challenges that people are going to have to face. But whatever happens, you're going to have lots of identical instances of applications. You might want to structure it so that perhaps every MPI rank is a container. You can, of course, have containers run containers. They're just applications at the end of the day, and you can use them to launch applications in the same way that you use MPI run to launch parallel rank on a on-premise cluster today.
Okay. So your profiling tool helps people see what's really going on and where the bottlenecks might be. What about how does Ellexus make money?
So all of our tools are licensed, and the license model depends on what you want to run. So
Yeah.
Breeze is licensed according to how many things you want to check at once. Container Checker is licensed on the cloud in exactly the same way, so you pay for it while you're using it. And again, Mistral is licensed according to how big an infrastructure you want to profile at any given time.
Okay. So kind of a wrap-up question here, Rosemary. I mean, you're on AWS today. What about other clouds, things like Google Cloud and Azure?
Yeah, so at the moment, obviously, if you want a license to run Container Checker or any of our other products on the cloud, then you can contact us. All of our tools run on the cloud already, and we're working with the cloud vendors that you mentioned, as well as many others, in order to make our tools available on their cloud platforms too.
Well, terrific. Rosemary, I just imagine that, doing this kind of work, you've kind of become an expert on migration to the cloud. Do you guys do consulting as well?
Yes, we do. Yeah, there's two aspects to moving to the cloud. There's the lift shift part where you literally need to work out what you need to move. It may well be that you run applications in quite a complex in-house infrastructure, and separating out what you need is can be very time-consuming without automated technology to do that. So that's one of the things that we do. We also help people move to the cloud and get their cloud instances right by profiling the storage, finding out what it is they need in terms of compute and storage, so that they make sure that their costs are right first time.
Well, that's pretty exciting, Rosemary. It sounds like you guys can save people a lot of money as they migrate these workloads to the cloud. So, congratulations on that. And I'd like to thank you once again for coming on the show today.
Well, thank you very much for having me.
You bet. Okay, folks, that's it for the Rich Report. Stay tuned for more news and information on high performance computing.